Android Soo, Parallel Blue, written and illustrated by Diana. Chapter 7. Tran said, "It's done, Bry," to the man who walked into the room. "I've layered over her current set of memories with the false memory. She'll think she was created for the Cran family to maintain their living compound outside of Serapi. Now all I need to do is alter her identity code, and I'll give her the new name of Fren." Bry, a tall, slim man of young middle age with long brown hair, slowly looked down at Soo. "Now I can safely tuck her away where she will no longer be a threat," exclaimed Bry softly. Bry knew that Soo worked many years in and around Serapi and had a good reputation. He was worried that if he sent her out on jobs in the city, she would be recognized. Also, he wanted to keep her close. He was too greedy to let a perfectly good android just lay around unused, and he didn't want to destroy her for the same reason. The Cran family was the perfect place for Soo, thought Bry. The family would pay a large sum to own such a highly skilled android, and she would be just outside the city. After Tran finished altering Soo, Soo sat up on the table staring straight in front of her, awaiting instructions. "What is your name and where do you work?" asked Bry. "My name is Fren, and I work for the Cran family," replied Soo Fren in a monotone voice. "Where were you before you began working for the Cran family?" asked Bry. Still looking straight ahead, Soo Fren said, "Nowhere. I was created for the Cran family." "And how do you like working for the Cran family?" "It is a very good job. They treat me very well." Soo Fren slowly turned her head and looked at Bry. Usually, androids that had just gone through the treatment had no reactions to anything except according to the new program overlay. Bry was concerned that the overlay wasn't strong enough. "Are you sure you completed the process properly?" he asked Tran. "Yes, the process is complete. Don't worry about a slight reaction." Then to Soo Fren, "Stand up. Put on these clothes." Tran handed Soo Fren gray coveralls and a hairband. "Tie your hair back." Soo Fren did as she was told, then stood waiting for further instructions. "Step into the transporter over there." Tran pointed to a transporter in the corner of the room. Soo walked over to the transporter as requested. "See? No problem," said Tran. "She'll follow any orders without question." Tran typed some coordinates into the transporter and Soo disappeared. "I wonder," said Bry. Soo Fren appeared inside a residential receiver in a small, dimly lit room. In that room was a very large woman. As Soo stepped out of the receiver, the woman said, "You will call me Mir. I'm the manager of this estate, and you will receive all instruction through me." Mir handed Soo Fren an info tab. "This contains the layout of the systems you'll be dealing with here." Soo Fren plugged the tab into her memory port and downloaded the information, then handed the tab back to Mir. "Every day after your recharge period, there will be an info tab left for you with your duties for the day." Mir handed another tab to Soo Fren and said, "This contains your duties for today. Get started immediately. You have a lot to do." Mir rushed off to her next task, and Soo Fren walked out to a small stone building behind the main house and began working on the water system. Apparently, more pressure was desired. Throughout the day, Soo Fren worked in silence. Though she saw many people all over the estate, she spoke to no one, and no one spoke to her. The estate was huge. The main house was the size of a small factory, and there were many other smaller houses and storage buildings inside a cube of space a mile square, carved out far below the surface of the earth on the outskirts of Serapi. This family was extremely wealthy to be able to afford such a large living complex, and they had something that usually only public outdoor spaces had: a digi-window ceiling. When you looked up, instead of seeing the rock that was really above, a beautiful blue sky was displayed. During those first few weeks Sue Friend worked at the Cran complex, she was very busy and thought of nothing but her work. The Crans had been without a repair android for quite some time, and many systems were in need of repair. Each day was the same. Sue Friend would awaken in her recharge box, which was kept in a small storage area crowded with old furniture in the basement of the main house. This was the only space of her own she was provided. Each morning she inserted the day's info tab, which Mir would leave for her the night before, into her memory port. Then she would immediately begin working on that day's tasks. She worked non-stop for 18 hours, then got back into the recharge box for the minimum 6 hours of rest. She was provided only 2 sets of identical brown overalls to wear, which she was responsible for keeping clean. Most of Sue Friend's work was inside the various tunnels and tubes containing the system panels for the Cran complex. The panels were created to be out of sight, with the little androids in mind to do the repairs. Sue Friend's work took her to nearly every corner of the complex, and though she occasionally saw people, they were always far away. The complex contained many live animals, such as horses, goats, chickens, cows, and pigs. There was also a large hydroponic garden inside a building made entirely of plexiglass. The Cran family liked fresh food from their own farm. Sue Friend often noticed a boy of about 11 roaming around the complex, usually alone. Eventually she learned his name was Dick, and he lived in the big house. There was also a girl of 9 named Lep, who lived in one of the smaller houses with a young woman who didn't seem to be her mother, but only a teacher. This teacher spent most of her time in the horse barn with the young man who took care of the horses, while Lep roamed the grounds on her own. Sometimes Lep would try to play with Dick, but he played too rough. The boy had to have everything his own way, so usually their games didn't last very long. After Sue Friend's 3rd week of working at the Cran complex, she had to cross the grounds to get from the main house to an outbuilding that was having trouble with an automatic feeder for goats. That day, Dick had 2 friends with him, boys of about his own age. "What's that?" said one of Dick's friends, pointing to the small figure crossing the grounds. "Oh, that's just a repair android," replied Dick. "A what?" "It looks like a robot doll," said Dick's friend, referring to a much less sophisticated toy currently popular with children of his age. "Haven't you ever seen a repair android? They're a lot smarter than robot dolls," said Dick to his ignorant friend. "Let's have some fun." Dick started running toward Sue Friend, and his friends followed. When she heard them coming, she turned to face the charging boys. Dick was first to get to her. He picked her up and ran with her over to a pile of goat manure, plunging her into it head first. Dick and his friends jumped on top of the pile, packing it down and sealing Sue Friend inside. "It'll never get out of that," said Dick, laughing with glee. "My parents will freak when they can't find it. They paid a lot to buy that little android, and won't even buy me Jiggerox." Jiggerox was the latest total immersion game, but it was for adults only. From underneath the goat manure pile, Sue Friend could hear the boys moving off. She tried to move around a little to perhaps work her way out of the pile, but the boys packed down the manure so tightly around her that she couldn't move at all. After a short while, she could hear a scraping noise. Then she could see light coming through the pile, and someone reached in and pulled her out. It was the little girl Lep. "What have they done to you?" asked Lep, quite distressed, and brushing off the dirt. "Those boys are too mean. You shouldn't play with them," scolded Lep, brushing off most of the manure as best she could. She set Sue Friend on the ground. "I'm Lep." Sue Friend looked up at the little girl. "My name is Friend. Thank you for pulling me out." She straightened her clothes and wiggled all her joints to make sure they were still in good working order. She was having some trouble moving her neck. "Did they hurt your neck?" asked Lep. "Some manure has gotten caught in the joint, and it will have to be flushed out with distilled water. Do you know where I can get some? Sue Fren asked Lep. We can go to where I live with Elle. She has some she sprays on her hair sometimes. Sue Fren followed Lep as she started walking toward a small cottage in the distance. They entered through the front door and walked into a small living room, neat and cozy. Lep went into the bathroom and came out with a small spray bottle. This is the water. Can you spray the water into the seam around my neck until the water runs clear? That should flush out the dirt. We better do that in the bathroom. Lep picked up Sue Fren and sat her down on the edge of the sink. Just lean over and I'll hold you. Sue Fren leaned forward over the sink, and Lep held her by the waist while she sprayed water on Sue Fren's neck. Sue Fren sat up on the edge of the sink, moving her head up and down, testing its flexibility. That should be enough, thank you. Lep picked Sue Fren up and set her down on the floor. Do you have to go back to work right away? Can you visit with me for a while? Sue Fren always had more work to do than she could complete in one day, but Lep had been so helpful and seemed so lonely, Sue Fren decided she could spend a little time with the child. Lep sat down on a couch, and Sue Fren crawled up and sat next to her. Do you live here all by yourself? Asked Sue Fren. No, said Lep, laughing. 9-year-olds don't live by themselves. I live here with my nanny Elle. What's a nanny? The Crans pay her to live here with me. She's supposed to take care of me and teach me stuff like how to read. Lep went on to explain that Elle was the 5th nanny she had since her parents died 4 years ago when she came to live with the Crans. The Crans felt obligated to take her in because Lep's mother was Mr. Cran's first cousin, but she was not a favored member of the family. The Crans tried to distance themselves from Lep as much as possible, and wanted to keep her isolated on their property to avoid it being known that she was related to them. But why are you always by yourself? Asked Sue Fren. There's a guy at one of the stables that Elle likes, so she's always hanging around there. The Crans never check up on the nannies, so they do whatever they want. Nobody comes to visit me, and I'm not allowed to go to the Cran house. Lep looked down at a book on the coffee table and asked Sue Fren, Do you know how to read? Yes, I know how to read. Is there something you want me to read for you? Can you teach me how to read? Lep looked at Sue Fren hopefully. Some of the nannies have tried to teach me some school stuff, but it never seems to last long enough for me to learn anything. Sue Fren looked at Lep, who was on the verge of tears. Suddenly Sue felt a rush of sympathy for this girl. Yes, I can teach you how to read. I have to finish my work now, but I'll come here each midday and we can work on it. Sue Fren slid off the couch and walked toward the door. Lep opened the door and waved to Sue Fren as she left. I'll see you tomorrow, said Lep excitedly.